Welcome, everyone. Let me tell you something that might feel a little uncomfortable, but I promise it is also the truth. You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are not broken. But somewhere, deep inside, you already know that time is slipping away from you every single day. You wake up with hope, you go to sleep with regret, and in between, the hours just disappear. You think the problem is that you don't have enough time. But here is the real truth. You have exactly the same number of hours as every great person who ever lived. The same 24 hours as the writers, the leaders, the builders, the dreamers. The problem is not the clock. The problem is the relationship you have with your time. In the next 30 minutes, I am going to tell you a story about a young woman named Mara who lost herself in busyness, in noise, and in the feeling that there was never, ever enough time. And through her journey, you are going to discover something beautiful, that time can be shaped, that your life can become something intentional, something meaningful. So please stay with me until the end, because the last chapter of this story holds the one truth that will change the way you see every single morning for the rest of your life.
Let us begin. Now, before we enter the story, I want to tell you something about this video. This is not a list of tips. This is not 5 productivity hacks. Those videos are everywhere, and yet people are still overwhelmed, still tired, still behind. What you are about to experience is different. You will learn through feeling, through story, through a character whose struggles will feel like your own. By the end, you will understand the root cause of time problems, not just the symptoms. You will have simple, natural tools that actually fit into a real life. And most importantly, you will see time differently, not as an enemy, but as something you can work with. And if you care about building a life that feels intentional, that feels like yours, subscribe to our channel right now. Because at Artificial Fluency English Stories, we bring you the most thoughtful, most human language learning stories in the world. Now, let us step into the story. Chapter 1. The Woman Who Was Always Running Late. Mara was 31 years old. She lived in a small apartment on the 4th floor of a gray building in the city. She had a job she didn't love, a phone that never stopped buzzing, and a notebook full of plans she never quite started. Every morning, Mara woke up with the same thought: today will be different. But by 9 a.m., she was already behind. By noon, she felt guilty. By evening, she was exhausted. And by midnight, she was scrolling through her phone, telling herself she would sleep in just 5 more minutes. Does this sound familiar? Here is what most people believe. They believe that if they could only find more time, 1 more hour, 1 more day, everything would be fine. They wait for a free weekend, a quiet afternoon, a moment when life finally slows down. But that moment never comes. And do you know why? Because the problem is not a shortage of time. The problem is what we do with the time we already have. Here is the truth that Mara did not yet understand, and perhaps you do not yet understand either. We lose time in 3 ways. The first way is distraction, the small interruptions that seem harmless but slowly eat our hours. A notification here, a quick video there, a conversation that takes 40 minutes instead of 4. The second way is indecision, the time we spend not choosing, staring at a task, thinking about where to start, feeling overwhelmed and doing nothing instead. The third way is the illusion of busyness, doing many things, but none of them deeply. Being busy is not the same as being productive. Many people work hard all day and feel they have done nothing at all. Mara had all 3 of these problems, and she had no idea. She thought she was simply not organized enough, not disciplined enough, not enough. But she was wrong about herself. And if you recognize yourself in Mara's story, then you are wrong about yourself too. You are not bad at managing time. You simply have not yet learned how time truly works. That is about to change.
Chapter 2. The Old Clockmaker's First Lesson. One gray Tuesday morning, Mara arrived at work to find a new colleague in the office next to hers. His name was Mr. Aldous. He was old, with white hair and slow, careful movements. He always seemed calm, always unhurried, and yet, by the end of every day, he had done more than anyone else in the building. Mara watched him for 3 days before she finally knocked on his door. "How do you do it?" she asked. "You never look busy, but you always finish everything." Mr. Aldous looked up from his desk. He smiled slowly. "Sit down," he said. "I will show you." He pointed to a small piece of paper on his desk. On it was a single sentence. One sentence, nothing else. It said, "Finish the quarterly report." "Every morning," he said, "I write only one thing, the most important thing, and I do not allow myself to do anything else until that one thing is done." "But what about emails?" Mara asked. "What about all the other tasks?" "They will wait," he said simply. "Most urgent things are not truly important, and most important things do not feel urgent, which is exactly why people never do them. This is the first lesson, and I want you to remember it. It is called the one thing rule. Every morning, before you open your phone, before you check messages, before you make coffee, write down one sentence, just one, the most important task of your day. It does not have to be large, it does not have to be impressive, it just has to be true. Ask yourself, if I could only do one thing today and everything else stayed undone, what would make today a good day? Write that, then do that first." This sounds simple, and it is, but simple is not the same as easy, because every morning life will try to pull you in 10 different directions at once. The one thing rule is your anchor, your compass, your promise to yourself. Mara tried it the next morning. She wrote, "Finish the presentation for the Friday meeting." And she did. For the first time in months, she finished something. By noon, before lunch. She felt strange, light, almost suspicious. "Is this really all there is to it?" she asked Mr. Aldous later. He shook his head. "No, there is more, but this is the beginning." Chapter 3. The Garden of Hours. A few days later, Mr. Aldous invited Mara to have lunch outside in the small garden behind the office building. She had never noticed the garden before. It was quiet and full of small flowers growing in neat little squares. "Did you plant all of these?" Mara asked. "Yes," said Mr. Aldous. "I plant a little every weekend. Each square is separate. Each flower has its own space, its own time, its own care." "I don't have time for a garden," Mara said without thinking. Mr. Aldous looked at her gently. "You have time," he said. "You simply have not yet built walls around it." This is the second lesson. It is called the time box. A time box is a fixed, protected window of time that belongs entirely to one task. Nothing else enters that box. No phone, no emails, no interruptions, just you and the work. Here is how it works. Choose a task. Decide how long it truly needs, then block that amount of time and only that time for that task alone. For example, from 9 to 10, I will write, nothing else, just writing. When the hour ends, you stop, even if you are not finished. You can open another box later, but the point is that inside the box, you are completely present. The magic of the time box is this. It removes the anxiety of never enough time, because inside the box you have enough time for exactly this one thing. It also trains your brain to focus, because your brain learns this is work time, this is protected time, this is sacred. Start small. Try one box per day, just one. 45 minutes or 1 hour. Over time, you will discover that one focused hour produces more than 3 scattered hours. Mara came back the next day and told Mr. Aldous, "I worked for 1 hour this morning with no phone. I finished something I had been avoiding for 2 weeks." He nodded. "Good. Now you understand the garden." "What do you mean?" she asked. "When you protect your time," he said, "beautiful things can grow inside it." Before we continue, I want to pause here for just a moment. If Mara's story is touching something in you right now, if you are recognizing your own habits in hers, then you are exactly where you need to be. Take a second and leave a comment below. Tell me, which technique feels most natural to you? The one thing rule or the time box? I read every single comment, and your words help me create better stories for you. And if you are finding this video valuable, please like it now. It helps more people find these stories. Good. Now, let us go deeper, because Mr. Aldous is not finished with Mara yet.
Chapter 4. The River and the Rocks. "You look tired," Mr. Aldous said one morning when Mara arrived at the office. "I worked late," she said. "I thought if I could just push through, I could finish more." He shook his head slowly. "You cannot push a river," he said. "You can only learn where it flows naturally and work with that." This is the third lesson, and it is perhaps the most important one of all. It is called the energy map. Here is a truth about human beings. We are not machines. We do not have the same level of energy and focus at every hour of the day. We have peaks, times when our thinking is clear, sharp, and powerful, and we have valleys, times when our energy is low and deep focus feels impossible. Most people ignore this completely. They put difficult work in low-energy moments, then wonder why everything feels so hard. Your energy map is a simple practice. For just 3 days, observe yourself. Notice, when do you feel most awake, most creative, most alive? When does your mind wander? When do you feel slow? For most people, the peak energy window is in the morning, within the first 2 or 3 hours of waking. Others peak in the late afternoon. There is no right answer, only your answer. Once you know your natural peak, protect it fiercely. Put your most important, most difficult work inside that peak window. Save the low-energy hours for simple tasks, responding to messages, organizing files, attending routine meetings. Work with your river, not against it. Mara thought about this carefully. She realized that she had been doing everything backwards. Every morning she spent her freshest, clearest hours answering emails and scrolling through notifications. Then, by the time she tried to do real work, her mind was already tired, already scattered. "I've been wasting my best hours," she said quietly. "Yes," said Mr. Aldous, "but now you know, and knowing is the beginning of everything." Chapter 5. The Letter She Wrote to the Week. On a cold Sunday afternoon, Mr. Aldous gave Mara a small, empty notebook. "What is this for?" she asked. "Every Sunday evening," he said, "you will write yourself a letter. Not a long letter, just a few paragraphs. You will write about the week ahead, what you hope to do, what you want to feel, what one important step you will take." "That sounds like just more planning," Mara said carefully. "No," he said. "Planning is a list. This is a conversation with yourself, with your future self. And that conversation changes everything." This is the fourth lesson. It is called the Sunday Letter. Most people lose the week before it even begins, because they enter Monday with no intention, no direction, no sense of what truly matters. They react to the world instead of choosing it. The Sunday Letter gives your week a soul. Here is the practice. Every Sunday evening, before the week begins, sit quietly for 15 minutes. Open a notebook or a document and write 3 things. First, 1 sentence about how you want to feel this week. Not what you want to do, how you want to feel. For example, "This week I want to feel steady, focused, present." Second, your 3 most important tasks for the week, the ones that, if completed, would make the entire week a success. Just 3, not 30. Third, 1 kind thing you will do for yourself this week. Rest, a walk, a meal you enjoy, something that protects your energy and your spirit. That is it. 15 minutes, every Sunday. Mara tried it. She wrote her first Sunday letter that same evening. She wrote, "This week I want to feel in control of my mornings." Her 3 tasks: finish the client proposal, call my sister, start the book I bought 3 months ago. Her kind thing: sleep before 11 o'clock, every single night. She folded the letter, she placed it on her desk. And on Monday morning, when the noise began, the notifications, the emails, the voice in her head saying you are already behind, she opened the letter and she remembered what mattered. "The letter is a compass," Mr. Aldous told her later, "and a compass never tells you how far you have to go. It only reminds you which direction to walk." Chapter 6. The Door She Learned to Close. One afternoon, a colleague knocked on Mara's door and asked her to help with a project that was not hers, a project that would take 3 hours she did not have. In the past, Mara would have said yes immediately. She always said yes, because saying no felt selfish, because saying no felt like she was failing someone. But on this afternoon, she hesitated. She thought of her Sunday letter. She thought of her time boxes. She thought of the one important thing she still had to finish before the day ended, and she said gently, "I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of something important right now. Can I help you tomorrow morning instead?" Her colleague nodded, left, and the world did not end. This is the 5th lesson, and it is not really about time at all. It is about permission. Every time you say yes to something that does not matter, you are saying no to something that does. Every time you protect your time, your focus, your energy, your priorities, you are not being selfish, you are being responsible. Responsible for your life, for your work, for the person you are trying to become. You have permission to say, not right now. You have permission to say, that's not something I can take on this week. You have permission to protect your time the same way you would protect something precious, irreplaceable, and beautiful, because it is all of those things. Chapter 7. The Blueprint. Several weeks passed, and Mara began to change, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, like the light that enters a room when someone finally opens the curtains. She started finishing things, not everything, but the important things. She stopped feeling that constant low hum of guilt. She slept better. She laughed more. And one morning, she sat across from Mr. Aldous with a small smile on her face. "I think I understand now," she said. "Tell me," he said, leaning forward. She opened her notebook. On one page, she had written 4 words: intention, protection, energy, rhythm. "These are the 4 pillars," she said. "Intention, knowing what truly matters. Protection, building time boxes and saying no. Energy, working with my natural peaks and valleys. Rhythm, the Sunday letter, the weekly ritual, the habit of looking ahead." Mr. Aldous was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Yes, that is it. You have built something no one can take from you. I want you to hold these 4 words in your mind now: intention, protection, energy, rhythm. These are not tricks, they are not hacks, they are the architecture of a life that feels, finally, like it belongs to you. Intention is your compass. It answers what matters most. Protection is your walls. It says, this time belongs to this thing and nothing else. Energy is your wisdom. It remembers, I am a human, not a machine. I work with my nature. Rhythm is your ritual. It creates the structure that holds everything together, week after week, month after month. Together, these 4 pillars form what I want to call the Keeper of Hours system. You are not at the mercy of time. You are its keeper. Chapter 7. The Blueprint. Several weeks passed, and Mara began to change. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, like the light that enters a room when someone finally opens the curtains. She started finishing things. Not everything, but the important things. She stopped feeling that constant low hum of guilt. She slept better. She laughed more. And one morning, she sat across from Mr. Aldous with a small smile on her face. "I think I understand now," she said. "Tell me," he said, leaning forward. She opened her notebook. On one page, she had written 4 words: intention, protection, energy, rhythm. "These are the 4 pillars," she said. Intention, knowing what truly matters. Protection, building time boxes and saying no. Energy, working with my natural peaks and valleys. Rhythm, the Sunday letter, the weekly ritual, the habit of looking ahead. Mr. Aldous was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Yes, that is it. You have built something no one can take from you. I want you to hold these 4 words in your mind now: intention, protection, energy, rhythm. These are not tricks, they are not hacks. They are the architecture of a life that feels, finally, like it belongs to you. Intention is your compass. It answers what matters most. Protection is your walls. It says, this time belongs to this thing and nothing else. Energy is your wisdom. It remembers, I am a human, not a machine. I work with my nature. Rhythm is your ritual. It creates the structure that holds everything together, week after week, month after month. Together, these four pillars form what I want to call the keeper of hours system. You are not at the mercy of time. You are its keeper. Chapter 8. The Last Morning. On the last day before Mr. Aldous retired, Mara stopped him in the hallway. "Will I be okay without you?" she asked. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he pointed, not to the clock on the wall, not to her notebook, not to her calendar. He pointed to her chest. "You already know everything you need," he said. "You knew it before we met. You just needed someone to remind you." And then he walked slowly down the hallway, through the door, and into the afternoon light. You have now completed one of the most human, most important stories we have ever told. You didn't just learn time management. You learned something far deeper, that time is not a resource to be hoarded. It is a life to be lived, on purpose, with intention, with care. You are not the person who is always running late anymore. You are someone who knows what matters, someone who protects their hours, someone who works with their energy, writes letters to their future self, and has learned, finally, to say a kind but confident no. You are a keeper of hours. If this story helped you even 1%, subscribe to our channel right now. We are building a community of learners who don't just improve their English, they improve their lives, one story at a time. Save this video. Return to it when the week feels heavy. Let Mara's journey remind you of what you already know. Because time does not come from discipline alone. It comes from intention, it comes from wisdom, and it comes from the quiet, steady decision to live, not just exist. Begin with intention. Protect what matters. Work with your energy. Build your rhythm. And most of all, remember that your time is your life, and your life is worth protecting. Thank you for watching. Let's grow together.